Another edition of Riding Home, this time Dean Legge and Dylan Webber. Dylan, you missed the game Saturday, but you did miss practice on Monday. How did Georgia look, comparatively speaking?
Well, it's always kind of hard to tell exactly what the mood is here, but I mean, they seemed focused. It seemed lasered in. I mean, there wasn't as much chatter among the players. When you listen to the voices of it was just a lot of the coaches talking. And right now, you can hear Dan Lanning screaming from here, and I'm, quarter mile away. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. In the past, Georgia losses, 2017 Auburn and last year against LSU, things didn't necessarily seem super different after them. And I think it's the same case here.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I don't know how many. It's been more than 10 people that I've talked to in the last 48 hours about Georgia's loss to South Carolina, and I think what people naturally want is to immediately go back and correct the mistakes that happened. They want to see immediate change. They want to do this, that, and the other. But one person I talked to played at Georgia and played on a team that got their ass beat by South Carolina one time, and then they went on to play for the SEC championship. Georgia. They just said, "Hey, you can't change what's been working for such a long time. I mean, this is something that for a 2.5, almost 3 year period has been working, and you don't just switch it when it's working because you had 4 turnovers." That was basically what he said.
I mean, yeah, for sure. And I think we had this conversation after LSU last year and Auburn the year before. There were things that were horribly wrong with that game, and things that need to be addressed.
Which part specifically was horribly wrong?
Well, four turnovers.
Right. I mean, other than the four turnovers.
I mean, that was the play calling too. I mean, that was, at least from my opinion,
Speaking of play calling, I mean, DeAndre Swift said today that he'd like to see Georgia throw it down the field more.
Yeah, that was shocking. I mean, because usually players don't open up that much or say anything like that. But that was kind of something staggering that a Georgia player would say something. I don't want to say, in defiance of Georgia, but kind of,
well, I mean, Nick and Sony talked to Chaney after the 2016 Florida game. And I would say Georgia played better offensively after that. They had a struggle the whole year, but they weren't just getting ground into the ground the way that they were against Florida and Vanderbilt that month. I mean, after that, they picked it up a little bit against Auburn. They had a better game against Kentucky. It seemed like they scored more. I know they ran more. So it's not abnormal for players to say, hey, we need to do this more. And he very well could be right.
There's a difference between talking to Chaney and saying that to the media. I mean, for a player to say that openly is refreshing in a way. It's kind of nice to see. Makes our lives a little more interesting. But I mean, it also shows the candidness of Swift and how he feels about the offense right now.
That's exactly right. And I mean, DeAndre Swift has put as much into this, if not more, as James Coley has. I mean, it's just physically, everybody up there works, but Coley's not getting tackled, and so I think that there has to be some respect paid for a guy like DeAndre Swift, who if Georgia's going to do what a lot of people want them to do, is going to have continue to have a good season. One thing that also popped up during all of my discussion with folks was, hey, this is when it happens. This is when folks get very negative and they pick on whatever you can do, or whatever negative that happened. They figure out how to discuss that. I have to say about our about riding home and dog posts and so forth is I feel like we do try to be as even keeled as possible about things. I mean, I completely still think Georgia will win the SEC East. And I mean, I do not think it's out of the realm of possibility at all that they can win the league and go on and win the national championship. It sounds crazy to say that after the South Carolina loss. It wasn't crazy to say that after the Notre Dame win. I mean, you have to take teams. You have to pull back and look at 40,000 feet after Clemson lost to Pittsburgh and nearly lost to NC State in 2016, they just weren't what they were at the end of the season then. And they weren't good at that moment. They made a lot of mistakes defensively in those games, particularly against Pittsburgh. NC State should have certainly won the game against Clemson. They just got away with one. And that can happen. Georgia did not get away with this one the same way that, Oklahoma didn't get away with it when they lost to Iowa State as 31-point dog in 2017. So explaining what happened, or as people who seem to be angry say, giving excuses for what happened, I don't know, man. I mean, an explanation is not an excuse. That you turned it over 4 times, that really, it aggravates me when people say something is an excuse. No, it's not an excuse. It's an explanation. I was about to do it. It's an expletive explanation. It's not that hard if you critically think. There is a huge difference between an explanation and an excuse. No one's saying that their dog ate their homework here. They're saying, hey, had a four turnover day. That's not good.
Yeah, and I mean, like why would we be trying to make excuses for Georgia?
I'm not. I don't give a shit.
I know,
Kirby gets paid $7 million a year. He can make his own excuses for himself. He's not making excuses.
Yeah,
He's giving explanations.
Exactly. We're not trying to defend Georgia here. I mean, that game against South Carolina was shitty. It was shitty.
With a capital S. I mean, it was bad. We've said that the entire time. There ain't no excuse. I mean, South Carolina, as bad as they played, deserved to win that game.
Agreed.
They just did. They played better. I always say they played better. They didn't really play better. They did not play better. But they took care to jump on balls that were there for the taking. Georgia did not do that, and it hurt them.
Yeah. I mean, the 4 turnovers is killer. I mean, Kirby today at the press conference said, a negative 4 turnover margin. He said, there's just no way you win that game, ever. He literally said you never win that game.
Georgia has not, in this decade, Georgia has had negative 4 turnover margin games. They've lost all 3. And 2 of them were by double digits, but this one was not. They almost won this game. I mean, I was going to say I don't know how. How is that they are the better team, and that you can see that. But like Dylan, what happens, man, is like nobody wants to hear that shit. They just want you to run them down, and that's fine. I get that. I get like everybody wanting to get their pound of flesh right now. That people are pissed. They shouldn't lose to South Carolina. It just shouldn't happen.
And people probably should be pissed too.
They should be pissed. I mean, I get it. Did I say they shouldn't?
No.
I talk so
I was
much.
just saying, like you're just saying people are pissed.
They're pissed,
and they should be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's why. I mean, you're spending money, you're spending time, you're spending emotion. All 3 of those things are not easy to come by. And you start hustling out for a noon game. So this is what it is, man. This is how it goes. You got kids. I live in Metro Atlanta. I'm gonna go over there. We gotta not stay up late Friday night. Maybe a kid is playing football. The daughter is the drum major. We got to stay up late because of that. We live in Cobb County. I got to go across Atlanta. I got to watch them bumble around in the warm-ups. Kirby is screaming at them. He's screaming to Chuck Dowdle beforehand that the team is not ready to play. I got to get back in the car. I don't get back home till 6. They play like total shit. They ruin my weekend. I get it. I mean, that's just if you live in Cobb County. What if you live in Charlton County?
And this is several days after Kirby, told you, hey, we really need you to come out. We really want your support at our noon game.
I think this is an important thing right here. I want to read this for the audience. This is actually very important. I did not hear this, but I was told about it, and then I've heard it after the fact. This is 4 hours before the end of the game. Kirby talks to Chuck Dowdle before they go into the locker room. He says, they have a good football team. We have to get our asses ready to play. Our team is not ready to play right now. We have to get our team ready to play. Our guys have got to get ready to play. We have to get ready to execute. This is going to be a physical, tough game. So he knew.
Did you think they had to get ready to play?
I mean, Kirby can be rough around the edges with us, and he can be difficult to deal with as far as that's concerned sometimes. A lot of times that he knows so much more about football than those of us who cover the team. He makes sure that we're aware of that, and that's fine. But he's right about this one thing here, and he's right about a lot of things. He knew that they were not ready to go, and he said we have got to get our team ready to play. We have got to get our asses ready to play. They weren't ready, man. They weren't ready. I mean, I hate that. I hate talking like that because I'm not in the locker room and I can't know those things. But they weren't ready to play.
Kirby said
Kirby
that.
told you that.
And yeah, and he said that before the game. That seems very candid. I mean, he says stuff like that before, but I mean, I don't know. Like, if you say that they were ready to play, then like I don't know, that would be a weird disagreement to have with Kirby on that.
I didn't think
you're right, and he's right.
I think he's right too, and I think that the good news about that, I asked people, what percent of this is Kirby's fault, and multiple people said 100%. And I said, well, that's the guy said, if that's the case, the good news is he's not going to have it happen again. It's not going to happen. But I say that, it's up to them. We're not paid. We're paid to talk, to write, to bring people content that they can't get, like, going to see Kendall Milton play football in California, or Gunnar Stockton or whoever. That's our job, is to collect data, report it back, give our insights, our views of the world. Kirby's job is to get them ready to play. And I have to say, for the vast majority of the 50 games or whatever it is he's been a coach at Georgia, they've been ready to play. I mean, you look at Auburn, they got their ass beat in 2017. But I was on the field. They were ready to play that game, man. They were ready to go. They were ready to go.
They just got kind of deflated there. I mean, after the roughing the punter and the left punt.
Now, before Texas,
kind of lost the steam.
Before Texas, it didn't look like they were ready to go. You were saying that the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, that one was a little more obvious. What other games were they? I guess that's not the point. They were not ready on Saturday, and that was really clear. And I wonder what determines that. I mean, of course, it's Kirby's job to get them ready to play, but it's not like Kirby wasn't trying to get them ready. Well,
the hard part.
I mean, yeah. I just wonder where the disconnect was.
It's hard to motivate people sometimes. You have to be self-motivated. And I mean, I have a hard time with that myself. We don't follow our strict schedule. We should be doing particular things, and we don't do. You and I know what I'm talking about specifically. Yeah. But I mean, when you look at as connected, I think, as he is to his kids in that locker room, it doesn't always go through, and that's the issue. That's the challenge as a head coach, is figuring out how to talk to guys that, even though you are not that old of a coach, figuring out how to motivate them on an early day against a team with a losing record. I mean, I didn't think one thing about this game, and I have a long history with South Carolina. I had no view. There was no scenario by which I thought South Carolina would win the game. Now, if you'd have told me they'd have 4 turnovers, I would have been pretty skeptical Georgia would win the game. But you can't know that going in,
Yeah.
And why weren't they ready? I don't know. But one person I talked to in college football today, who is not a Georgia person but deals with the SEC and has been around the block for 20 years, said, I want to read the quote specifically. They said, this is, I mean, not that it's a good thing, but that, he said, I've seen this happen before. It mentally presses the reset button. Losses can show all of the warts, and then you can address them. This is about pushing the best buttons that you've got. And I don't know. I mean, what the warts were the other day were the turnovers. I mean, I hate to keep talking about that, but if you're a basketball team and you turn it over 22 times, Dylan, you're probably going to lose.
Well, and it's not like that's a bad thing to harp on, because that's what Kirby harped on a lot today.
Well, he's right.
And 0 turnovers that they had. That was another. I mean, he talked about that maybe as equally as much as the 4 turnovers
because
they had.
They were there. Those balls popped in the air twice, and I remember J.R. Reed was right on top of one and didn't get it. I think it might have been J.R. again. I'm not sure. But there was another time when the ball popped up like that, and Georgia didn't pick it off. That's not like them. And there's a lot of negativity out there right now, and there's reason for that. I mean, I think that Georgia felt like they lost to a team that they're not, that they're better than, which they are, but they still lost. And, that's a hard thing to reconcile. People can put away the Alabama and say, well, Alabama's really good. There's no confusion about if South Carolina is any good. I mean, South Carolina turns it on here and goes 8-4. That would be a pretty amazing end to the season for them.
Yeah.
And I don't see that happening.
I mean, that UNC game that they played.
Those are not good teams. Those are not good teams. North Carolina's not good. South Carolina's not good. Clemson is good. Georgia is good. I mean, Georgia lost. Clemson didn't. Barely. So it's just, I don't know. It's what happens, and you're judged on the results. But another thing, an old time, a former player said is, said people just basically look at the scoreboard and that's it. You got to look at what's playing on the field too. He said, Georgia whipped their ass up and down the field, and they just lost. And it really was because of the turnovers. I mean, if Alabama were to turn it over to Georgia 4 times, would they beat Georgia?
No. I mean, it depends how many turnovers that Alabama got. But if it was
if it were -4,
no, they wouldn't win.
It's it's kind of people don't want to accept they want it to be more than that, and it's not. That's what it is. I mean, then people are like, well, you got to be shitting me. That's all it is. Yeah, that's 80% of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
I mean, I'm not putting this on Rodrigo. Why would any of this be on Rodrigo Blankenship? Let's have that discussion real quick. If you want to put it on Jake Fromm, I think you got a case for that. Why would this in any way be on Rodrigo? I mean, it
is not on Rodrigo. I do not think it is at all. But I mean, people are going to point to the blocked field goal, field goal, big word, blocked.
Was the ball too low? I mean, it did, from what I understand.
That's the thing,
But someone broke through the line. I mean, that ain't on Rodrigo.
Yeah, you can point that in any way. The missed 42-yarder.
I mean, Rodrigo's got he's got 2 game-winning kicks in his career.
I know. Exactly. That's the thing. But people take that for granted. People think that Rodrigo is basically automatic from anywhere.
Jake Fromm's not automatic.
Exactly.
I'm going to go on an Aaron Murray rant. Aaron Murray threw 3 interceptions and a half against Florida. And you should have seen my phone, man. And people love Aaron Murray. They were killing him at that moment. I mean, look, that's what this is. I mean, quarterbacks, Jake had a bad game. He did not play well. He just didn't. But the interception that hit Tyler Simmons right in his hands and eyeballs, that's not on Jake Fromm. It really was a collective problem. If you want to say, oh well, the defense had a bad play. Damn, I mean, they allowed 10 points, bro. I mean, they have not lost. There's only one other game where Georgia has allowed 10 points on defense and lost this decade. They've played 100, however many games. And there's something that they're like 27-2 in games where they allow 10 points on defense. I said offense, I think. I didn't mean to say that. But you get my point. There were a lot of statistical outliers in this game. And
I think if you get a non-offensive touchdown too, your chances of going up increase significantly. Yeah.
They do. We got all this. I've got this database, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I looked it up. And there have been 3 times in this decade where Georgia has had -4 turnover margin games. They've lost all 3. There's only been 2 games this decade where Georgia has allowed 10 points on defense and has lost. This was one of them. I mean, you're starting to stack up things that are a little odd that started happening. But the biggest thing that former players said was, yes, the turnovers were killer, and that one of them was what equaled 7 points. That was really a problem. So, but as far as practice was concerned,
I mean, yeah, we can go down the injury list real quick just to
Sure.
just to hit it. Tyson Campbell was back out there today.
Okay.
That's big. He's been out for a while now. But I don't know to what extent he's practicing, but he was out there today. This is the first time I think I've seen him since, what was it, Notre Dame?
He's been missing for a little bit of time, for sure.
Well, Todd McKinley was out there today. He went down against South Carolina there. He didn't come back, but he was working with the second team, so he's still a little questionable. Kirby said that he thinks he'll play this week, but unsure. Justin Schaefer was not out there. Kirby said he is unlikely to play this week. But they had Ben Cleveland working at right guard, Isaiah Wilson right tackle, and then they had Cade Mays working at left guard, which isn't a huge surprise.
Uh-huh.
Which was kind of weird to me was they had DeMarcus Hayes, who's been playing tackle now for the past 2 years at backup left guard.
Hey man, let me cut in on you here for a second, as I always do. The South Carolina-Florida line has moved 2 points down towards Carolina.
What is it at right now?
It's only at 5 right now.
Really? In South Carolina?
Yeah.
That's pretty surprising.
I mean,
I thought Florida looked really good.
Against LSU?
Yeah.
What about against Tennessee?
No, not as much.
What about against Miami?
Definitely not.
What about
that
against?
Was also with
what about against Tennessee? What about against Tennessee?
Not as good. But
excuse me. I meant to say Kentucky.
That one was bad. But maybe Florida's finding their stride is the thing.
Maybe, man. I don't know.
I think Florida's better than 5 points against Carolina.
I think that's a tricky. Florida better watch that game. Not because South Carolina's so good, but Florida better watch that game.
It's not like South Carolina played the best game in the world against Georgia.
They were horrible. Are you kidding?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of opportunities were given to Georgia to win that game, even with 4 turnovers.
Well, people say that now. What do you mean a lot of opportunities? South Carolina did not turn the ball over at all. They got clean punts basically the whole time. It's not like Georgia got the ball inside the 15.
There were just some penalties.
A lot of penalties.
Especially the 4th and goal, the one to Eli Wolf where they called holding. That was, savior. They missed 32-yard chip shot.
Yeah. Well, they still won the game.
Overtime.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it should have ended there. The game should have ended there.
Yeah.
Opportunities were given to Georgia in that sense to make up for their downfalls, and they didn't capitalize. And once again, we talked about that is the capitalization of opportunities, and South Carolina did when they got turnovers, and just forcing turnovers.
Well, we're going on too long here, but so injuries. It looks like the big news there is that Tyson Campbell is
Lawrence Cager. That's a big one.
Yes.
Was another that Kirby said he probably will not play this weekend. Said he's dealing with the shoulder injury, but also said there was something else. I think ESPN said during the broadcast it was a rib injury.
It was so weird.
Well.
He walked right past me. I think the defense was on the field. I don't remember him getting hurt. So that was an odd one to me.
But sometimes that stuff just kind of surfaces up after games. You don't really realize it in the moment until.
Well, no, they pulled him out during the game, is what I'm saying. But what was so strange was I don't remember him getting hurt on the field.
Definitely wasn't a big deal whenever it happened.
Well, look, go to dogpost.com, subscribe on YouTube just below. If you go to Dogpost, it's $1 for 1 month. $1. That's 100 pennies for 1 month of coverage. You get a lot more insights on the message boards. Click subscribe. Go to the website. I'm going to link below what we are hearing. Go to dogpost.com right now. Thanks for joining me, Dylan, and we'll see you over on the website, dogpost.com.